Welcome back to CivilNet Backstage at Aurora Dialogues. My name is Syuzanna Petrosyan, and my guest here is Pablo Ceriani Cernadas from Buenos Aires. Mr. Cernadas is an attorney, a professor of human rights, and the vice chair of the UN Committee on the Rights of Migrant Workers and Their Families. Welcome, Pablo.
Thank you.
Pablo, the challenges of the humanitarian crisis are so great today in so many levels and so many locations. Should be the work, the impact, the efforts, should they be focused on providing humanitarian relief to the families and the refugees, or should they be focused on finding political solutions to the crisis?
I would say both. I mean, both are critical and they complement each other, because you could provide relief in the short term to those who are in a very vulnerable circumstances. But although if there is no policy solution, political commitment that understand and address these kind of challenges with a long-term lens and a comprehensive approach, I mean, that relief is not enough. I mean, it's just temporary. Those people, I mean, and behind those people are more people that might end up in the same circumstances. So we need to have both approaches, and I would say that the long-term and the political commitment is paramount. It's key. I mean, for properly and effectively addressing these, I would say, unfortunately, structural problems that the world is dealing with nowadays.
What types of structural problems?
Well, poverty, asymmetries between countries and regions, unemployment, lack of opportunities, discrimination based on gender, ethnic origin, religious, age, or sexual orientation, nationality, migration status, and political violence, social violence, the way that natural resources has been exploited and are displacing so many people from their own communities because of the lack of opportunities, and so in that context, how those displacements are being responded by transit and destination countries. So I think that we are dealing with this kind of structural issues, and unless we address them, I mean, through political commitment, through empathy, through multiple partnerships. I mean, the situation that we are facing, the problems, the armed conflicts, violence, terrorism, racism, xenophobia, may be increased in the next decades.
If we're talking specifically about migration, what are the key forces standing in the way of finding a solution? Is it economic anxiety? Is it fear of demographic change in certain countries? What are the key issues people are worried about?
Well, I mean, I would say there are at least two main challenges. One is in relation with what I was saying is the root causes, that is this kind of structural factors that are pushing people for fleeing from the country, and second is the narrative. It's the narrative of migration. I mean, how migration is presented to the society, and this is such a toxic narrative and based on myth rather than facts, rather than what migration in reality is, which is people, families, cultures, people seeking jobs, seeking opportunities, people that to some extent also are a necessity also for destination countries, because we witness, and there's a large evidence on how host society are benefit from migrants on many levels, economic level, at work, labor market, and many other ways. But
so is there a communication problem? We've spoken to a few people today who lead, whether it's governmental or non-governmental organizations, and I asked them how do you communicate trauma, disaster, crisis, mass migration?
There is
to gain that type of necessary support you were talking about for political commitment and.
Yeah, of course there is a communication problem. I mean, and that problem is also related with the lack of information. I mean, information in terms of public policy aimed at developing or gathering information about migration, about migrants' living conditions in host society, about why they are fleeing from their country. So as that information is missing in many countries, then migration policies is built based on stereotypes, based of myths, and that is leading to xenophobia, is leading to restriction of rights, the rights of migrants, in spite of that providing them the same rights than others in the same society. It clearly increases the number of benefits, not only for migrants and their families, but also to the entire host society. So I think it's a problem of communication, lack of information, lack of commitment. Then also that migration has increasingly become a political tool. So and it's seen through such a narrow lens, I mean, security lens. I mean, being targeting migrants as a security threat, or as a threat to the cultural identities, or a threat to employment of native population. So this narrow approach is framing migration policy with a, I mean, and without highlighting or visible, even making visible what migration in reality is.
And how do you motivate young people to create a community or an ecosystem for involvement, education, action? Is that something your organization also works?
Yes, you need multi-stakeholder initiatives. I mean, because it's integration, for instance, ensuring migrants' integration to society is not an unidirectional issue. I mean, it's multi-directional. So we all integrate each other. I mean, in our societies, because society that increasingly has become multicultural. I mean, this is now. I mean, and it will be. Our society will be like this, and it will be an increasing trend in terms of becoming more and more multicultural. So integration implies a number of policies involved in different directions. So we all integrate each other, but also implies the participation of different stakeholders, civil society, teachers, health servants, media.
In fact, one of the panels of the Aurora Dialogues tomorrow is migration from crisis to integration, involving all of those various multidimensional steps you're talking about.
Exactly, because I mean, in many countries, unfortunately, you see that migration policy is framed as, I mean, it's just regulating, whether a person can come to the country, can stay, and to which extent they can access to some rights. While migration policy should not only be about, I mean, entering to a country or whether they should be locked in a detention center. I mean, migration policy should be under, for instance, the labor ministry, the social protection ministry, child protection bodies, health, education, justice. I mean, because migration is multidimensionality, and that should be reflected in migration policy. Otherwise, I mean, we are using the wrong tools, and in any case, when we talk about public policies, if we use, I mean, if we have a narrow picture of a reality, a particular reality, a policy trying to address that reality will fail.
Right.
Because, I mean, they are not looking about what this issue is.
And you specifically work with migrant workers, correct? And what are the largest challenges facing them today?
Well, there are a number of challenges. One of them is the increasing number of situations where migrants end up in exploitation environment, labor exploitation, not the lack of policies aimed at protecting the rights of migrants and ensuring the equal treatment as any other worker.
Is there a model in the world to look at?
Well, I mean,
we wouldn't call it a success case because it's hardly probably exists, but
yeah, I mean, pieces, different pieces or positive pieces of what it should be an effective and legitimate migration policy. Right. One is to try to reduce the number of mechanisms that have been increasing undocumented migration. I mean, trying to promote regularization. Regularization is a key for integration, for social integration, for reducing exploitation, for reducing gender violence, child labor. So trying to facilitate that those people that are living undocumented in the country of destination, they can access to a regular status, because in that sense it facilitates the access to labor market, to better living conditions, and so on. And secondly is trying to promote that migrants become just as another part of society, and so they can be members of different kind of associations, trade unions. So workers are workers no matter where they were born, I mean, no matter their ethnic origin, and so on. So there's some policies that went in that direction, and they succeed.
And what motivates you to do your work?
The motivation is that we should get rid of our some ways of building identity that exclude other people, and I think that nationality, I mean, we don't decide where we are born. I mean, this is the lottery of birth. I mean, we are born in a particular region, but it cannot define who we are, who or mainly which rights should be entitled to. I mean, so I think that working on migration and working on migrants' rights is a privilege, in the sense that we can see each other as just human beings with the same rights, no matter anything else. I mean, because until today, nationality has been used, even that is a 19th century issue. I mean, until now, where migration became a structural phenomenon of our society and our future, we are still thinking of nationality as something that excludes others instead of, I mean, building building bridges, that could just see where we could all see each other as equal, just because we are human beings.
Well, we could have a whole another conversation about identity, but we'll finish here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for watching CivilNet Backstage at Aurora. We'll be back with more. Thank you.